Aaron Halterman does a great job at racingdudes.com. Follow him on X at racing_dudes. Joins us now in the Progressive guest line to talk all things Big 12. Aaron, we were kind of kidding during the break. It's every time you look at these new super divisions, right? You try to figure out, okay, wait, what team is in what division now and what conference here? And then you look and you see Utah as a new addition, and Cam Rising is still there here, Aaron. They have the highest win total along with K-State at 9.5. Walking into the Big 12, do you think that number is appropriately set? It's actually juiced to the over at minus $1.35.
Yeah, I mean, let's kick it off right here with the newcomers to the league, right? And this is the big newcomer, in my opinion, to the league this year, them in Arizona. Utah over 9.5. That's one of my stronger plays, actually, in the Big 12 this season. And look, you said it, Cam Rising for the 7th season. Here he comes back once again. And look, guys, I really think you look at the Utah team 2 years ago when Cam Rising was healthy. Wow, they were a really good football team, especially towards the end of the season when he really got his feet under him. They looked fantastic. They beat up on USC in the Pac-12 championship game that year. Now, fast forward to last year, they were a disaster offensively without him. It was a rotation at quarterback, and neither one of them were very good. But you get Cam Rising back. You've got 9 back on the defensive side of the ball, 9 guys that were very good last season. The record wasn't great, but that defense was great last season. Whittingham's always going to have a really physical team there in Utah. And I think, with Oklahoma, Texas gone, and the teams that are left in the Big 12 and the teams that have come in, Utah might be the most physical team in this conference now. Yeah. They may be able to bully some teams around now. I really like the Utah team this year.
Yeah, Aaron, I love that handicap of Utah. Bizarre, Cam Rising. I'm 11 months older than him, and I graduated college over 4 years ago, and he's still out there. Just a rising senior, some might say. I want to stick with the theme of Pac-12 turned Big 12 teams and look at the Arizona Wildcats because, man, they've got something special with quarterback Noah Fafita and then McMillan, the receiver, one of the best air attacks in college football, and I'm kind of surprised that their win total, after rattling off 10 a year ago, is just 8 on DraftKings, 7.5 some places. I'm intrigued by this number of 8 plus money with the over. What do you think about Arizona's inaugural Big 12 campaign?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with how you broke it down there. I think 7.5 or 8 wins, that's pretty crazy for Arizona. Now, they're kind of the opposite of Utah. They're not going to ground and pound you, but, man, they, like you said, they are electric offensively. They've got 7 guys back offensively, plus the quarterback that you mentioned, and he is fantastic. They've also returned 7 on defense. I know they've lost the head coach, but I think the replacement's going to be okay. I think they're just going to pick up right where they left off last year. So I'm going over Arizona 7.5 here. Also, you kind of look at some of their tougher games. Yeah, they do have tough games on the road at K-State, at Utah, at Central Florida, and at TCU. But all of their home games, guys, are very winnable. So if they've got 7 games at home, they should win all 7 of them. And we're talking about winning one of those games that I listed off on the road. They also have BYU forgot to mention about them on the road. You got to win 1 out of those 5 to get to this win total. Guys, I think they might win 2 or 3 out of those 5 that I just mentioned. So I think this was a no-brainer for me. Arizona over 7.5. I think they'll fit fine in the Big 12. Offensively, they're pretty similar to what everybody else does in the Big 12. So I think it's going to be a real good fit for the Wildcats.
Aaron, you mentioned that Utah might be the most physical defensive football team that they have in the conference this year. That normally goes to Mike Gundy in Oklahoma State with his defense. He raised some eyebrows with some of his comments at Big 12 Media Days. Their win total is sitting at 8. What do you make of Gundy, this team? Because I think some people, it feels like a wide variance that it could really be a disaster or they might be really, really good.
It's a grab bag. I stayed away from it as far as betting, but I can speak on Mike Gundy a lot. I told you guys right before we got on air, I'm a big Oklahoma Sooner fan. With that being said, I know a lot about what goes on in Stillwater at Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy has said this kind of stuff for years. Maybe not this extreme with the whole driving drunk comment. That was pretty crazy.
That was an eyebrow raiser right there.
Yeah, I mean, there's the I'm a man, I'm 40 thing, which was funny, and then there's the DWI thing, which is like, yeah, that's not that funny, dude. But anyway, he's a weird guy. That's the best way I can. He's just eccentric. He always has been. He does not care what he says ever, and that's evident. Their teams, I guarantee you, they will beat somebody they shouldn't, and then they will lose to somebody they shouldn't. And that's why it's kind of always hard to gauge what they're going to do from a win total perspective. If I had to take it, I would take them over 8 right now. They have a lot of guys returning, and I think that's the big thing. Offensively, they've got Ollie Gordon back, plus a lot of other guys back on offense and defense both. I would take them over, but I'm a little bit scared. They're always kind of a schizophrenic team week to week.
Yeah, it's going to be intriguing to see what they do out there. Sticking with, an OG Big 12 team, Kansas State. Of all the returning Big 12 teams, they've got the most love, just a hair behind Utah in the Big 12 preseason media poll. But they lose their quarterback, Will Howard. So, I don't know. I seem more concerned than most about Kansas State. I don't love the over on their win total. It's 9.5, depending on where you shop. What do you think about it? Are you higher on the Wildcats than me?
Yeah, I actually am high on the Wildcats here. I love Kleiman, the head coach. He always brings a physical brand of football, and I think that 8 returning starters on defense, they're going to be pretty good defensively. You talked about it's a weird situation at quarterback, right? Will Howard's gone. He might start for the team that wins the national championship this year in Ohio State. I mean, they're loaded. Will Howard goes there, and Kansas State says, yeah, go away, because we've got a guy named Avery Johnson who we really liked towards the end of last year and actually started him towards the end of last year. So with Avery Johnson, is he going to be the great quarterback that they think he is? Because they kind of told Will Howard take a hike, which is really weird. And now he, like I said, ends up in Ohio State. So the Avery Johnson situation is interesting. He is a dynamic runner. And I think that mobility really fits what Kleiman wants to do offensively. I also think K-State schedule-wise, most of their tough games are at home. Arizona, Oklahoma State, Kansas, all at home. They do have to go to Ames. So that'll be tough. But because of the schedule, I went K-State over 9.
Aaron, I think it's in the new Big 12 bylaws that I have to ask you a question about Colorado and Deion Sanders. What do you make of year 2 of Coach Prime? 5.5 is where this thing is set at. I have no idea of what to make of year 2 in Boulder.
You and me both. I totally stayed away from it. I mean, I could see a world where they're 6-6. I think that which would put you over, which would cash the bet. So I mean, again, if I had to do it, I think I would take the over. This thing kind of started to be a disaster last year towards the end of that season, as everybody saw it unfold. They kind of got overhyped beating a TCU team early that wasn't all that good, but. Look, I think they'll be a little bit better. I think he's got the defensive and offensive lines a little bit better, that was just the huge problem last year. They had the skill guys. They didn't have the guys up front. I expect a little bit of progression, but I was a little bit scared to bet it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at that schedule right now. That looks like a tougher schedule than Kansas State's. I wouldn't be shocked Colorado went 4-8 this year. Woo. When you look further down the Big 12 a little bit, there's a play with Central Florida. I don't know what to think of this team. I think I'm a little lower on them than most are. What are your thoughts on the Knights?
I'm with you. I'm low on them as well. Their total sits at 7.5. I went the under on Central Florida at 7.5. Guys, Gus Malzahn, I'm not a big believer in him, to be honest. When they hired him at Central Florida, I thought things would go pretty well. I think it's been pretty underwhelming so far for him. Now, I know last year they had to switch to the Big 12, and that is an adjustment without any doubt. However, the couple years before, they really kind of went backwards as well, even when they were in the smaller conference. So it's kind of I'm not sure. They bring in KJ Jefferson at quarterback from Arkansas. I'm not sure he really progressed from the first year he started till now. I didn't really see it at Arkansas. They kind of went backwards. This schedule is really tough as well. They've got a non-conference game at Florida. I think that'll be tough for them. At TCU, at Iowa State, at West Virginia. They have Utah at home, but still, like I said, I'm high on Utah, so I think that'll be a tough game. They also host Arizona at home, and I'm high on Arizona as well. So the mixture of, I think, one of the toughest schedules in the Big 12, and the fact that I'm just not totally sold on the direction of the program. I think under 7.5 is the play for Central Florida.
Aaron, got about a minute to go. Let's do a little Game of Thrones, Battle of the Bastards. The worst 3 teams, at least with the win totals here in the conference. You got Arizona State at 4.5. It's juiced to the under. BYU 4.5, juiced to the under. And then Houston 3.5. You can get plus money, plus $1.35 if you want to go under 3.5. Out of those 3, which under would you play?
I think Arizona State has to be the one. I think Houston, new coach, they're going to be better. BYU, it's tough to go out there and win. I think they'll win a couple games. Maybe they shouldn't. At home, Arizona State. I would have to go under 4.5. I'm the least confident, I think, in them. They've got still, I think, in my opinion, a major rebuilding job there.
Forks down for Arizona State. Aaron, really appreciate you joining the program here in the Progressive Guest Line. Great breakdown of the Big 12. Can't wait to talk college football with you more.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Great stuff right there. So check them out again on X at @racing_dudes.